Let us continue with our lesson. So we have fixed our issue with our color already. And the next step is to add a click listener. So whenever the user click on the specific item on our recycle view, we need to open the detail for that task. So what we'll do is we will implement all of that. So let's go back to our view section and go to the adapter, and I will add a new interface over here. And let's call this one as a task callback and just create it. So we have an interface of a task callback. Inside this, let's create a function, and the function is we'll name it as a on task click. So we will have to implement a parameter of let's say we need a view, and we also need adapter position. So view assign a position of int data type, and also we will need whether it's a long click or a short click. So it should be each long click. No, it should be of a boolean data type. So we need a three parameter over here on the task click, view, position, and the long click. So we have created an interface. So let's go back to the adapter, and the adapter we need to add some variables. So I'll just say private letting it, and if we need to create a task callback, and let's go in on subclass over here, and I will add a new private let init var of a task callback. It's a task callback, and we also need to implement the view dot click listener. So I will implement the view dot, let me add it, view dot on click listener, as well as the view dot on long click listener. So we need to add this, implement this too. So let me implement the member function over here. Okay, so we have implemented all of this. Let me remove the to do from here and as well as from here, and let me make use of init block. And init block, I can just say that task binding, right? The task binding dot root dot set on click listener, to this, and also for task binding dot root dot set on long click listener to this too. So we have implemented the long click as well as a click listener over here, and for this one we need to implement this override. We have override function of on long click as well as the short single click and the long click. So what we will do over here is we'll check if the view is not the view, it's v is not equals to null, then we will go and implement the which is a task callback. So task callback, right? So task callback dot on task click. So on task click, what we want to pass, the first parameter is view is v, and the position we need to pass is the adapter position, and is long click also false, it's not a long click. And similarly for here on the long click, we have to check if the v is not equals to null, then we will go and implement the task callback dot on task click, and we need to pass a view, and also we need to pass the adapter position, and we need to pass a boolean value. So it's long click, this is a true. So since this is a long click, we need to say this is true. And finally we can just return a value of this here false. So that should implement the on long click override function of on long click as well as a single click. And we need to create one function over here, and we can say set set task. So we need to implement this function, and what we will do is here we can just call it as a task callback. Also task callback. We need to pass the parameter later, and we can say this dot task callback is equals to task callback. So we have implemented the function, all of the required function. So why we are creating this function is later we have to call this function from the outer class. That's why we are assigning it where we are creating a task function, which is to set task adapter position click listener. So this listener spelling is mistake over here. It should be lis TENER listener, and we are setting the task callback over here. So we need to call this function from the outer class. So what we will do now is we will just go and create a one function over here in the outer class. So let's create a function, and function we can just say that the task, we can just say as set task out of the position click listener, and we can pass the same parameter of a task callback, and we can say that this this dot task callback is equals to task callback. And now what we will do is over here what we can do is we can set the here holder dot set task position adapter listener to the task over here, so task callback. So we can set that one. Yeah, so that should be fine. And instead of the task adapter position click listener, I think we can just make it as a set. I think we can just say say as a set task callback. Right, that should be better. So set task callback, and let me call this function from here, and also let me set the same for it here. So this function we will be calling from the, we need to call from our fragment. So let's go and go to our home fragment over here, and we can set it in our fragment over here. So we can just say task adapter, right? So we have a task adapter dot set task callback, and we can pass the callback over here. So the callback would be offered this, and this, why we said this is because we need to implement the interface over here. So how do we implement the interface is we go over here and we just say a task callback, and we need to implement the function. So just implement on task click. Okay, so we have over here the on task click listener implemented on our fragment over here. So we will just remove this section, and now we can check here, like if, let's say if we can say that is long click. If it is a long click, then we will say it's a long click, or else if it is not a long click, then we will do certain thing. So for now we can just log it, log the e, and we can just say tag command, and we can just say we can get the position, right? So we can say that USITRN position is of this position that we are currently, and each long click, sorry, CLICK, and we can copy this and just paste it in the else part, and we can say this is a single click. Sorry, this should be of a long click. So let's run the application and let's test it out. And let's go to the logcat section, and I'll filter it out by the error. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so let's open our. Okay, so what we will do is we'll just try to click on, so we can see the position is 5 and it's a single click. And if you go to the top and just click it, so you can see its position is 0 and it's a single click. And if you try to press long time, you can see it's a long click. We get is a long click, right, and single click. So if we press a long time, we get a long click. So it should be fine that we have implemented the interface to handle the on-click listener. So whenever user clicks on the particular item in our recycle view adapter, we should get a callback. And I hope you guys got it what actually we did. So let me go through one more time. First of all, we created an interface of a task callback, and we implemented this. Okay, so we created a task callback interface, and in the adapter, what we did is in the subclass over here, we created a variable over here, and we implemented the view.long listener as well as on click listener over here, and we have override these two functions. You can see this is the override function that we have, these two. And in this function we check whether it is the view is not null, or then we set that the task callback, and we pass the view adapter position and is long click or not. Similarly, we did the same thing for the on long click, and we created one function which is to set the task callback, and this will actually set the variable for our task callback. So this task callback we call from the view holder on bind view. So whenever we are binding the view, we are binding the holder callback over here. So view holder dot set callback. So this function we are calling from the holder and setting the callback. And this callback, what we did is we have set the function to set this callback variable. So we have this callback variable, and we set this callback from this value, and we are passing the callback from the fragment. If you go to fragment, we are passing the here. So task adapter that set callback like this. So we are passing the interface over here, and that has been done over here. So I hope you guys got it what actually I'm trying to say over here. And if you still have the question over here, do let me know. And it's quite simple. We just created a task callback interface, and we implemented in our subclass, which is of a view holder, and we have to override these two functions and create one function to call this function from the uh, outer class. And outer class function would be called from our fragment, and we will set the callback. And the interface class we need to implement in our fragment or the activity wherever you are using. And the thing that we have to do is we have to initialize we have to bind the on-click listener to our view using the init method. So I hope you guys got it and everything looks fine. So we'll continue with our lesson in the next video. Till then, have a great day.